You're listening to Rolling Toe with trucking experts Kevin and Mike Beckett. This is the show where you ask the questions and we give you the diagnosis on how to get the most out of your truck. We'll talk about avoiding wear and tear, knowing your suspension and axles, and how to get more mileage from your tires. We're on the audio road. Let's get rolling.
Hello, this is Mike.
And this is Kevin.
And we're here to talk about alignments and tire wear and answer your questions and see if we can figure out where the heck you're calling from by your area codes. This is our ongoing game to see if we can learn anything. Last week, we had a nice discussion. And this week, we're going to try and talk about drive axle and toe alignment. Now, if we're not going to use caster and camber to control the direction the truck moves, we find it's more effective to use the drive axle. Now, consider an outboard motor on an outboard boat. When the motor is aimed to the left, steers to the right. Aim it straight ahead, the boat goes straight ahead. On flat ground, a truck will do the same thing. However, we do not drive on flat ground. In North America, we tend to drive on the right side of a crowned road. In other words, the road slopes to the right, and because of the effects of gravity, the truck wants to pull to the right. Now back to the outboard motor example. If you were crossing a current flow like a stream, if the flow is from your left, you have to aim the motor slightly to the right, push the nose of the craft into the current in order to cross the stream. On a single drive axle vehicle, the same rule applies. Aim the drive axle very slightly to the right, and the front of the vehicle will push up against the crown of the road to counter the downhill effect of gravity. Aim it too far to the right, and the vehicle will pull to the right because now the drive force is now pushing in the same direction as the force of gravity. We've found there are 4 drive settings on a single drive axle vehicle. Aim it left, and you get a right pull. Aim it straight, and you get a right pull. Aim it slightly to the right, and it drives straight. Aim it too far to the right, and the vehicle pulls to the right again. Tandem drive axle vehicles have another force that needs to be taken into account. This is the scrub angle between the drive axles, which creates a force that must be addressed. Ideally, we would like to set both drive axles perfectly parallel to each other and slightly to the right. However, in the real world, this is virtually impossible. They're held in position with rubber bushings and airbags well under 17,000 pounds of weight per axle and transferring the horsepower from the engine to the road. They have rubber bushings and airbags that give a little bit under this torque. And depending on the model of suspension, the give or the flex or compression of the support components can allow large or small changes to the alignment of the dynamic conditions. Since I cannot be confident the axles will remain perfectly aligned to each other, we find that setting a slight scrub angle between them is more effective. I got to turn the page, hold on. By aiming the front drive axle slightly to the left and the rear drive axle slightly to the right, we create this scrub angle or cone between the drive axles. It causes the vehicle to push up against the crown of the road and counter the gravitational effect of the slope of the road. An example of this is a tapered styrofoam coffee cup. Lay it on its side and roll it, and the cup will roll in the direction of the smaller end of the cup. Similarly, by keeping the narrow gap between the drive axles on the left side of the vehicle, the force created by the scrub angle assists in fighting the effects of gravity. None of the settings we use are outside of factory spec, and we avoid the issues associated with camber and caster adjustments, which we discussed last week. One point on drive axle alignment. Drives need to be centered under the frame when measured from side to side. Like our old friend, the outboard motorboat, if the motor is mounted off center, the drive force will be off center, and the push will drive the vehicle in the opposite direction. 70% of steer tires issues we see are related to drive axle alignment. This means that the most important alignment setting you make is with the drive axle, where most of the weight and all the horsepower is located. Okay, that's a drive axle discussion. What do you think about all that, Kev?
What do I think about alignment? I think it's the most important. What's that? Yeah, I think it's the most important thing that we discuss.
I said we were going to talk about tow in this discussion, and I just realized I spent the whole time talking about drive axles, and I never discussed tow. So let's
No
talk a
tow at
little
all.
bit about tow. Yeah, I read
All
the
right.
whole thing. There was no tow in there. Okay. Tow is
Oh, wow.
important too because it's affected by the play that's in the front end of all normal condition trucks, with a little play in a tie rod end joint, a little play in a kingpin and a wheel bearing. You can get significant tow changes as you drive the vehicle straight ahead and the drag pulls on the steer tires and sets the play. Most vehicles
Okay.
are aligned on turn plates, and after it's relaxed on turn plates, then it's jacked up and the instruments are mounted, or you paint scribe the tire. They set it back on the turn plates and they measure a relaxed. That's not how the vehicles drive. And the minute you drive off that alignment rack with the turn plates, the tow changes. Sometimes a little, sometimes quite a bit. We find the average tow coming off the turn plates is towed out. 60% of them coming off the turn plates are actually towed out when they were correct on the turn plates. This is another major alignment concern that we have, and it affects a lot of tire wear.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I hope that the only issues that we're having are here on my end. And when I connect this next caller, the first guy with a question here, that you and he will both be able to hear each other just fine. This is what we're going to try as mechanics, try to run a radio show. All right?
What's his phone area code?
This area code is 918.
918. 918. I'm going to try Texas.
Is our guess. Where are you from?
Hello, Oklahoma.
Oh,
Hello?
Close.
Hello. Hello.
Here you can.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, there's
I
going to
can
be
hear
a
you.
bit of a delay between the two of you because you're both calling in and then hearing each other. So accept that, and we'll see if we can get this question answered.
Kevin, you go ahead and ask the questions.
All right, what's your question,
Go
sir?
ahead.
Yes, I have your book, and I was reading them, and in the end, you talk about the different configurations of rear ends and everything, by whether they're a pack car or a Freightliner, and whether they're a Hendrix or the different systems. But you don't talk about the adjustment and how to adjust the different ones. Do you guys have a book or some type of guide to go by where you can see how to adjust the different rear ends?
In that same book, if you get to the rear end discussion, I'm opening the book up now to try and find. I put the where is that picture? Kevin, you remember?
That book, I don't remember what page it was, but that book was written 20 years ago. And most of the suspensions that are in it aren't even used anymore. So,
But if you go,
it,
Kevin, you want to go to page 110 in the book. And in the book on 110, it shows you one where the suspension bolts up with two bolts. And it's illustration number 103. Is that still on 110 in your book, or have we modified the book that's not there now?
I couldn't tell you. I'm running down the road, so my books are up top, not safe to look at.
Okay, well, that's fine. What it shows you is that some suspensions, the main component bolting to the spring hanger, will have two bolts, and you can stick shims. Some components that bolt up, the all has a, and have an offset in a washer, an eccentric, and you turn.
Yes.
If you look at the suspension, you'll generally be able to find that point where it's bolted on. If you can't find it, you can take a picture of your suspension, send it to us, and we'll respond to you with where you would adjust that particular suspension.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the second question I have a Freightliner, and you talk about the bag having a tendency to for a better term, toe in. And I understand that when you loosen the U-bolt, you're able to line it, straighten it back up, and then tighten your U-bolts back. Would a man be ahead of the game to take him a piece of channel iron and go ahead and, when he knows what's right, get the measurement, drill his channel iron, and basically do like a Hendrix or some of the other suspensions and have a bar that runs across that'll hold the bottom of them airbags in place and they won't move?
Okay, that's a marvelous idea to keep the airbags looking straight, but it does nothing to keep the U-bolts tight. And then that visual indicator that you trouble. In fact, the Freightliner suspension has a stretcher bar across it. And you never know that the U-bolts are loose because everything looks right all the time.
Okay.
In fact, the international suspension that does look just like the Freightliner, they actually feel like it's looser when they're driving, and it may be because the airbags can't apply their own pressure to the U-bolts or the suspension by leaning in.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is the airbag tilting like that is like the canary in the coal mine. It gives you the clue that you have a problem to go ahead and fix it before it gets bad.
Right.
That's correct. And the second part of that is we recommend that every 50,000 miles, whatever service interval you have close to 50,000 miles, you should have somebody go underneath there with a big 3/4-inch gun and just tighten the heck out of those U-bolts and make sure they stay tight.
That sounds good. That's somebody's me. Nobody else touches my truck.
There you go.
I run too many miles to put my life in somebody else. Chad done an excellent job on my front end, and it made me decide I wanted your books, and now I'm going to try to learn how to do it myself. I've run 200,000 miles since he's done it. Just wonderful, wonderful job. I appreciate your knowledge and really glad to have your books. And if you come out with more, sure would be glad to have them. Thank you for your for your time, and I'll let you go.
All right, thank you. All right. I put him back on the hold queue, and we've got a number more callers here, including this one here from the 720 area code. You got to guess where that's going to be from, Mike?
Oregon.
Oregon? All right. I'm going to go with Oregon, too.
Colorado.
Colorado.
Well, they look similar. They're square-ish.
Well, hi, guys. Thanks for doing the show tonight.
Well, thank you for calling. And what's your question, sir?
I have a frame question I'm hoping maybe you can help me with.
Okay.
It's a Freightliner Classic 2001 with a Detroit, and going over the bell housing, there is a flat piece of metal that goes across and ties the two frame rails together. It doesn't appear to be structural to me. It's got holes drilled in it, and it has a wiring harness going over the bell housing. Is that something I can permanently remove?
So you're stepping about 4 feet outside of my area of expertise, but that's just a flat bar, right?
It is just flat. I believe it's 1/4-inch steel, and it is just flat, and it sort of has like a very wide U shape to it.
Okay, here's the risk. The radiator mounted at the front of the frame hooks the two frame rails together and has enough bracket to it to try to keep the frame rails vertical relative to each other. Then the motor mounts are at the back of the engine, which is only tying the bottom of the frame rails together, correct?
Let me see. I'm working on the truck right now. My motor mounts really appear to bolt into the center of the frame rail.
Okay. Then
Fairly center.
I suspect that plate is an attempt to keep the top of the frame rails from falling away from each other, because the motor mount bolts into the middle, but it really kind of drops down and the engine's bolted down below the frame, isn't it?
Well, the rubber biscuit of the motor mount, the rubber part, is actually about mid-center of the frame.
Okay. It's a risk because it doesn't have enough strength to really be a cross member, but it could be a stretcher trying to keep the top of the frame rails in the same spot. Now, nothing else bolts to it but a wiring harness.
Correct. It is bolted to it is bolted right there where the motor mounts are, and it is bolted to the two perches that the cab mounts sit on. But again, it doesn't appear that it would have enough structural. I mean, maybe it would help, but it just seems like it's too weak and that it would flex going down the road.
Well, I don't have an opinion on that. And guess what? We lost Mike. So I guess I'm going to have to tell you, I'm having a terrible time hearing everybody, and I think it's my connection. I hope everybody else isn't hearing what I am, because it just sounds terrible. But based on what I did hear of what you were saying, there's Mike again. Hold on, let me get him live.
Okay.
Is this you again? Mike, is that you again?
I'm here.
He's here. All right. Well, as I had said, I don't, from what I heard, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other whether he keeps it.
Okay.
Is there a reason, or should you just leave it there?
Okay. If I were to remove it, what would I look for negative consequences?
As far as the top of the frame moving of the engine is pushing in, that would be a problem. That would be a problem. The wiring harness, I really don't care about.
Right. Okay, I didn't hear the first part.
Being
Okay,
vertical with the two frame rails to each other.
All right.
Yes.
Is everybody still there?
I'm still
Colorado's here.
Okay. In Colorado, how are you hearing Mike? How does he sound?
He is breaking up very badly.
Breaking up pretty badly? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
and
what
I'm
we're
not.
do for this show. Kevin?
What's that again?
Kevin, I'm going to just listen. You're going to handle the show unless you get something I can't handle. You can't handle.
You know what? I'm having a worse time hearing everybody than he is hearing you. So if you're okay with... What's that?
Yeah, but I'm breaking up to him, so I'm going to hang up and see if you get better when I'm not interfering with the show.
Now you're perfectly clear, Mike.
Now I'm perfectly clear?
Mike is.
Okay.
All right, we're going to try at least one more caller after this. Is that the question you had, or do you have another one?
That was my one and only question.
Okay, all right. Then we're going to
go talk to a frame guy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to at least one more caller, and if it works for him, and he can hear Mike, and Mike can hear him, I'm happy with that. All right.
Cool.
All right. Now this one's from the 406 area code.
Oh, I know that one. That's Ohio.
Ohio. All right. And as soon as this does its job, he'll be live. Here he is.
Nope, it's Montana.
Montana. I knew that. You know what? I knew that.
I have two questions for you. The first one, I've developed a vibration. I don't know if it's partly due to my load. 55, 60 miles an hour, I'm getting a vibration that I'm feeling coming up through the floor. I can drive out of it at 63 miles an hour. I'm wondering, I don't know if it might be partly due to my load. If I have worn shocks in the drive, would I be getting a vibration from that at that speed?
It's possible. I want some more characteristics of the vibration, though. You say it vibrates as you go up through the speed. Does it come in again as you go down through that speed?
No, it pretty much is just right there through that 55, 60, 61 mile an hour range. If I bring myself up to 63, it goes away. It's perfectly smooth. If I let it slow back down to 60, 61, it comes back. And it feels like an out of balance to me, like similar to like a tire out of balance on a car. But I'm feeling it through the seat and through the floorboard.
And that could very well be what you got. You may have an imbalance in your drive tires. It could be an imbalance in the drums, or it could be a driveline angle. All three of those are possibilities.
Okay, driveline angle may be the more likely because, like I said, it just appeared, but I did blow a pinion seal on my rear drive that I just had to have the pinion seal replaced a couple, 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely a driveline vibration, but remember, your tires are the last part of the driveline. And that speed range is a good speed range for that kind of a balance or harmonic vibration to show up.
Okay, and I do notice it seems to be worse because I've been up here running across Montana and Washington. If I've got a lot of side wind, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense, but if I have more side wind, it seems to be more pronounced. When the wind does lay down, it seems to smooth out a little bit.
When the wind is pushing on your side, you're leaning your trailer over and you're depressing the airbags on one side, which is putting a twist in the axle.
Okay. So I will get it checked to make sure my ride height is set properly. That's one question.
Go ahead.
My other question is as far as tire rotation. At what point do I not need to worry about the directionalness of tires?
Well, there's only one company that's currently producing a tire that is, quote, directional, and that's Michelin. And I've got a bulletin
which is what I've got.
And I've got a bulletin from Michelin that says that the only directionality they have in their tire is designed to reduce the onset of irregular wear. It doesn't have anything to do with safety or handling or anything else. Once you've run 20% of the tread depth, you have hardened the tire up enough that the onset of irregular wear is already taken care of. So I recommend you put them on in the correct direction.
Which I did.
And then when your steer tires, if you measure your steer tires, one steer tire will tend to wear 1 or 2 30 seconds faster than the other. When you have that kind of difference, whatever mileage that is, 50,000, 60,000, whatever, it's time to rotate your two steers side to side without worrying about the direction anymore. Your drive tires, the rear axle will wear 25% faster than the front axle. So when you're 30 seconds more worn on the rear diff, it's time to X-rotate your drive tires, rims and all.
And it doesn't matter on the directionalness of the tire?
Nope, not a bit.
Okay.
Not at that point.
My steer tires, I've never rotated them, and they're actually wear nice and smooth. In fact, I just measured them today because I had an inspection done. I'm 12 30 seconds on the steer or on the left side, 11 30 seconds on the right side, and I've got 180,000 miles on them. And I have not touched them since I put them on.
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's true.
Well, exactly. And my drive tires, like I said, I was more concerned about getting as much wear out of my drives because I got the X1 D-Line Energies. And I wasn't sure because these are the first super singles I've ran that were directional.
Mm-hmm. Well, measure the tread depth between your front and your rear diff. If they're still even, just leave them alone. But if the rear one's wearing faster and you're down to 4/32 difference between your front and back, it's time to X them.
And I will tell you, they're wearing actually pretty even. My drives are on the front axle, it's 20 on the left, 21 on the right. Rear axle, it's 20 on the left, 22 on the right.
Go ahead. It's hard to get it more even than that front to back.
So, okay.
I'd pray I'd leave them alone.
Wait till there's 4 or 5 30 seconds and then cross or do an X rotation.
Correct.
Okay. I can do that then. That was my only questions. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, he's that's 3 down. Now we got this one. I'm assuming he's right next door because this isn't the 406 area code. This is the 405 area code. So I'm going with North Dakota. What do you think?
Florida.
What's that again?
Florida.
Well, let's find out what it really is.
Yeah, 405 is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. Okay. My question is I have super singles, and when I take my hand and see how smooth the tires are, when I do it toward the front of the cab, it's nice and smooth. But when I put my hand on the tire and I rub it backwards, it's like a washboard. What would cause that?
That happens in all drive tires, whether they're super singles or duals. It's engine torque twisting the lugs as they go through the footprint and toe pattern. That's one of the reasons we X-rotate tires to get them off of the slow-wearing axle on the front and onto the fast-wearing axle on the back so they can even out as a set. And we X them so they run in the opposite direction to take the heel and toe out.
Gotcha. Okay. All righty. And that answers that question. I only caught part of a question. On the airbags, they're crooked.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay like that, or should I straighten them up?
Go ahead and talk to him, Kevin.
I really couldn't hear what he was saying.
Okay, I'll answer it then. When the airbags are tilted in on the bottom, closer together, it's indicating on a Freightliner that the U-bolts are getting loose, and that hockey stick-shaped leaf spring is sliding toward itself. So what we recommend is you loosen just a little bit more, put between the things back out where they're supposed to be, and then tighten them up.
Okay,
and then
gotcha.
50, somebody with a heck out of them.
Okay. All righty, sir. That's the only questions I had. I sure appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, so it's back down to just you and I. And I got to tell you, Mike, I don't hear hardly anything you're saying, and I don't hear hardly anything anybody else is saying either. I'm not sure if it's because of the Skype thing or if it's because of my internet connection, but I'm understanding what people are saying most of the time.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to listen to this recording, and if we don't like it, we're going to dump it again. And this may be time we try to co-host.
Okay, well, I'm not sure it's Skype. I think it might be the internet connection here after that since that apartment building's gone in, because I've done the speed test and it's just awfully low.
Okay, all right. How long have we been on the air? Because I don't have a good time on this.
Hour. So now, right now, there isn't anybody with a question in the queue, but if anybody does have a question, we can answer it if you press 1 on your phone, but don't press it twice because it'll take you right back out of the queue. So we do have another question.
How long have we been on the air, Kev?
Just at a half hour. And we got 2 more questions that have come in, and if you can hear them fine, then we'll go ahead and record it.
I can hear them. Let's go ahead.
We'll do this too. It got 608, and let's get to that one. Where do you think it's from, Mike?
Hello there.
Hey, how you doing? 608,
good.
Southern Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I skipped 2 jumps from Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
Anyhow, Mike, I got a question for you. I got a 2010 Great Dane 53-foot closed-hand trailer. It's got a sealed the grease bearings, not the oil bath, but the sealed. And 3 of the 4 were loose.
Mm-hmm.
What is the recommendation on that? I had a Sat Brothers out in Clearfield, PA today, took the grease cap off and tightened up the outer bearing.
Mm-hmm.
And they put them, I know you were talking about it before, because I listened to your show before, and they put them at 200 foot-pounds, backed it off, put it to 100, and then backed it off a quarter turn.
And they left the grease again.
Yeah. Yeah. And filled the grease cap up with grease, because there wasn't a whole lot of grease on that outer cap.
Right. On, which they probably did, right?
What's that?
They probably did the adjustment with the wheels on. They didn't take the wheels and drums off, right?
No, yeah, they did wheels on, up in the air on jack stands.
Okay. And do you know if these are tapered bearings or parallel bearings?
I want to say, because I kind of seen them, I think they were a tapered bearing. Because when they were messing around, I kind of stuck my head down there and took a kind of look.
Yeah. Okay. When you tighten a tapered bearing, you're pushing those 2 tapered bearings together, and you're physically lifting up the hub, drums, tires, and rims and centering them on the bearings. 2 tires, 2 rims, a drum, and a hub weigh about 550 pounds.
Right.
So when you tighten it in, you're picking that much weight up, and if they tighten it to 50 foot-pounds, they just barely picked up 500 pounds of weight. They didn't get to 0. And when they backed off a quarter turn, they just backed off 21 thousandths, and they left between 20 and 30 thousandths loose, and they're supposed to be less than 5 thousandths.
Ah, all right. So when I get back to Wisconsin, I got to jack this thing up and rip tires off it.
Well, you don't know. You don't need to take it off. You just need to know what to set it if you have the weight on, and what you have to set it if you have an empty hub. There's 2 different settings you can use. So if you take the wheels and the drums off, I would tighten them to 25 foot-pounds and do not back them off. You're just picking up a light. If I've got the duals on there, I'll tighten it to 75 foot-pounds and not back it off.
Okay.
I'm not preloading anything. I'm just picking up weight.
Okay. Now, I did notice this thing had some sort of a plastic, some sort of a little clip that went over the spindle that was between the oil hub or the grease hub and the nut. It was a yellow kind of a funky looking clip that this thing had on it. All 4 corners had them on it.
This was a single nut instead of a double nut, right?
Yep.
Okay. That was a Pro Torque nut, and that was the lock ring.
There you go. That's what they called it, Pro Torque.
Since it's a single nut, on a double nut, if you tighten it to 75 and you put the outer nut on it, when you jam the outer nut down, it moves the inner nut a little more, and you pick up some more torque. Okay?
Okay.
With the single nut, you don't have that additional torque. So on a single nut, instead of 75 foot-pounds, I tighten them to 90 and then put the clip ring in.
Okay. And don't back them off.
Don't back them off.
With the tires and the hub and tires, rims and tires on it. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'll remember that one, Mike. I greatly appreciate your immense knowledge.
Well, we're glad to help
every time.
Cool. One of these days I'll learn how to teach you, though.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay. Now that was 608. That was Southern Wisconsin. And here, this one is 417.
417. 417. Missouri.
Missouri. All right, we'll go with Missouri. Hey, this is Kevin. Where are you from?
Hello, I'm from Conway, Missouri.
I got one right.
Thanks, guys, for all you do. First, quick question: I was developing a little bit of river wear on the outside ribs of my left steer tire, and so such a small amount that you could just barely feel it, but I could feel it. And so I started watching it, and it didn't get any worse. And then that was about 3 months ago. And then over time, it has disappeared. Everything is all back to even and working good now. And that just really puzzled me because in the past, once it starts, it always just continues to get worse. But this time it went away. You can have a quick explanation for that.
Well, the first suggestion I would have was that for a short period of time, that tire was running just a little bit low on air, 5, maybe 6 pounds, and then aired it up. Is that possible?
I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I haven't changed the air pressure. Yeah, I run 115 pounds in all the tires on the truck.
Okay.
And as far as I know, that's what it's always been and still is.
Okay, so you never had to go add air sometime when you're having a service done?
No.
Okay, all right. That would be my first suspicion. The second thing is that even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while.
Yep.
So I don't have any really good explanation, but I like to hear once in a while that a tire can start going bad and then straighten itself out. I think that's good.
Well, it really puzzled me because in the past, like I said, once it starts, it only gets worse, and
Right.
it has gone away completely. I can't find anywhere on the tire that's irregular at all.
Well, we won't talk about what brand tire is and how good it is because that might swell our heads up.
Well, it's the same brand that I've always used on this truck, and I'm very happy with it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
And another quick question, if you could just on adjusting the bearings. You know, I haven't checked that in 5 years, and so I just thought maybe I should just take them off and check them. I mean, everything's working fine, but you have a quick recommendation on how to adjust steer axle bearings?
Yeah, I have a quick recommendation in your particular case. It ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, I like that. Yeah, okay.
I look
All right.
for symptoms. I look for symptoms before I take something apart. The first symptom of a bearing is you start getting cupping in the tires. The second symptom, if you're having a bearing problem, is when you pull the oil cap and you stick your finger in there, there's going to be some metal flake on the oil that comes out on your finger. Then you take it apart.
Uh-huh.
Right, tires. And I put my vibrating in it.
I don't know if I'm in a bad spot, but I'm really, you're breaking up really bad. I might have even lost you.
Yeah.
Well, I've been having these difficulties this whole time, but I can't imagine it's too bad because we've got quite a few callers, and if it was as bad as I'm hearing, they would have hung up a long time ago. So,
Well, I can hear you fine. I mean, you're coming through perfect.
you can, and that's great. Unfortunately, I can't hear anybody else, so it's a mixed blessing. Mike, fortunately, everybody seems to be hearing him because I can barely even tell what he's talking about, but people have been satisfied with his answers. So,
I was hearing him just fine, and then just for about 10 or 15 seconds there, it was a really bad reverberation, echo, and then.
Let me try to describe again the three things I look for in a bearing before I take it apart. Number one, if there's no cupping, I'm leaving it alone. Number two, if I pull the oil plug out and I dip my finger in the oil and there's no metal flake or any sign of contamination, I leave it alone. And number three, I spin the front tire nice and fast and put my fingers on the air brake chamber. If the bearing gets pitted, it'll vibrate in the fingers, and then I have to take it apart.
Oh,
if I don't see any of those things, I'm not taking it apart.
Okay. That last one there was unfamiliar to me. That's good to know. Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Well, that's great. You answered my question.
Good deal. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for calling. Okay, and let's see. We've got two more. This next one is from the 313 area code. Your guess, Mike?
Ohio.
There's a lot of area codes in Ohio, but I'm going to go with Pennsylvania because we never say that one. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. This is I'm calling from Detroit, Michigan.
Michigan.
Edward.
I've got a few questions about. I'm looking to get new steer tires and drive tires. I've got a question about rolling resistance on a specific brand that I want to get.
Wrong.
Oh.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Can
you hear me?
Say that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, it's breaking up pretty. I can hear you, but it's breaking up pretty bad.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm an alignment guy. My job is to make tires wear flat and smooth and drive a long ways and handle right.
Right.
I don't know nothing about the rolling resistance.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
You bet. You have yourself a good day.
All right. Okay, Michigan, not Ohio,
Michigan,
but we've got
three.
Is Michigan. We'll remember that. And the 301 area code is next. What do you think that one is?
Idaho.
Did you say Ohio again?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Indiana. Are you there? Yeah, you could all be talking and I don't hear anything.
Well, hello. Is this? Hear nobody.
Yeah, I don't hear anybody either.
Okay. How long have we been on the air?
45 minutes.
55 minutes.
Yep.
Call's done.
Say that again? Maybe I can hear you now.
Can you hear?
Yeah, unless you're in a well, I'm not really sure. All right. We're at 45 minutes into this. I apologize for the technical difficulty. I hope everybody has had a good show. It sounded okay, what I heard.
Let's wrap
Well,
this up. We'll listen to the playback and decide if we're going to keep this one or if we're going to dump it and try it again. Okay?
Yeah, or what else we're going to have to do. Okay. All right.
Thank you, folks, for calling in. I hope we helped some of you out. Have yourselves a good evening.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Rolling Toe. If you like what you heard here, leave us a rating and review on iTunes or listen to our other shows at audioroad.letstruck.com. To get in touch with our tribe, call us at 855-800-FUEL. That's 855-800-3835. Thanks for joining us for the ride down the audio road.